Developers have the Xbox Series Plus. Should you be mad? Xbox takes away this feature. This thing costs more than a Series S. Is it worth it? And is Xbox in trouble? Let's discuss. If you want to get your holiday shopping done early this season, check out the links down in my description because I have links to all sorts of stuff, games, consoles, accessories, you name it. What's up guys, and welcome to another edition of Xbox Ready. As per usual, I have gathered a number of stories from around the video game industry to share with you so you can be Xbox ready. Also, I am once again asking you to give me the best gift of all this holiday season to help Xbox Ready reach 100,000 subscribers. It would really mean a lot to me if you hit subscribe, set your notifications to all, so you can continue to be Xbox Ready. And just a reminder, if you see an account that says Telegram, Xbox Ready, all sorts of weird stuff, an account trying to get your personal information down in the comments below, do not respond. That is not me, that is not Jimmy. No one affiliated with Xbox Ready is behind that account, so just ignore it. First up, we got a really cool Xbox update to talk about. I feel like this is a really underrated feature that will let you see your power consumption when you're in standby mode. A couple of months ago, or a couple of weeks ago at this point, I feel, there was a lot of buzz surrounding standby mode versus power saving mode, but it seems like Xbox is reworking this whole system. First of all, they're renaming the power modes on your Xbox, so it's not gonna be energy saving mode anymore, it's gonna be shutdown mode. And I feel like that's a lot more straightforward. If you have this mode on, your Xbox shuts down when you turn it off, and it does not continue to consume energy once you shut it off. First of all, it says in this graphic right here that you will still be able to access remote features when your console is on in this mode. Previously, you had to have your console set to instant on or standby mode in order to access remote features like remote play and other things. In shutdown mode, it'll also apparently support automatic updates, and while no, your games are not going to update while your console is off in this mode, it is for real off this time, guys. There's no trickery here. I feel like that's a pretty cool feature. After that, it's not going to be called standby or instant on mode anymore. It's going to be called sleep mode. This is a lot more straightforward. It's terminology used on other platforms like the PS5, for example, except on the PlayStation 5, I don't think it's called sleep necessarily, it's called rest. And again, it looks a lot like what we are used to with instant on. You can turn on your Xbox instantly, no boot up. It's going to use more power, but you'll have other remote features available to you, like bringing up your Xbox app on your phone and turning it on remotely. Although I think we're approaching the time where it's going to make more sense to go in shutdown mode versus sleep mode because they're doing all these improvements. What is the added benefit of going sleep mode if I'm just getting a faster startup time? And I think the only answer to that is downloading updates to games and other apps while your Xbox is off. I feel like that's pretty clutch. And last but not least, like I said earlier, you can see how much power your Xbox is consuming thanks to this nice little bar. Always fun to have something nice and visual there to kind of really paint it out for you, how much power you're consuming, how much money you're spending. Next up, let's talk about the Xbox Series P, the Xbox Series Potato. I'm referencing a very specific situation that unfolded on Twitter over the weekend. Now, you know how the internet is, you know how Twitter is. They're constantly at war with each other over these consoles. So basically, this guy who works at Rocksteady, the guys who made all the Arkham games, went on this Twitter rant that drew a lot of interesting responses from the community. He was basically sounding off on the whole Gotham Knights situation. Gotham Knights on consoles, on PS5s, on the Xbox Series X, they're only gonna have a 30 FPS mode. They're not gonna have a performance mode that offers 60 FPS and beyond. It's just gonna be locked at 30 FPS. And a lot of people were like, whoa, that's whack, especially because this is a PS5, Xbox Series X, and S game only, a technically next-gen game. And then this guy came out and went on this whole rant saying that it's the Series S's fault. He says that developers always work with the lowest end console in mind, and because the Series S is terrible, that's why Gotham Knights only offers 30 FPS on consoles. He even went so far as to say the Xbox Series S is a potato. You know how when you're referencing tech and it's kind of like questionable, like you're taking a picture and it turns out really blurry on your phone, you're like, this looks like it was taken on a potato. The Xbox Series S equals potato in this situation. And long story short, it did not end up well for him. The Twitter community hit back pretty hard with this. And in classic Twitter fashion, it led to this guy's profile Twitter account being deleted, being deactivated. A lot of people were out there saying, okay, listen, you got games like Cyberpunk running at 60 FPS on the Series S, you got games like Dying Light 2 running at 60 FPS, Forza, all these other titles, and those first two that I mentioned, Cyberpunk and Dying Light 2, they had come out and said, okay, we're not gonna be able to get 60 FPS on Series S. Sorry guys. And a couple of months later, they were like, Just kidding, we got a 60 FPS mode, we had to lower the resolution. Apparently this guy was less of a developer and more of like a character concept artist from my understanding. I'm not saying that this guy has to love the Series S, he's free to have his opinions on the Series S, but I'm just saying it is a little risky when you voice your opinions publicly and frame them in a certain way when you're working in the video game industry and just bash one of the biggest players. A lot of people are saying, I thought the baseline for the PS5 and the Series X, it was going to be 60 FPS minimum, and we're starting to see more and more that it's a little bit more complicated than that. Me personally, I thought we were gonna have a mode, like in most games now with next-gen patches, a quality mode and a performance mode. A mode for 4K 30 FPS and then a mode for a lower resolution and 60 FPS. They cited other factors when they made this decision apparently, like the untethered co-op aspect of Gotham Knights, but still I feel like it rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, and I do understand. Gotham Knights is not the only one going through that right now. A Plague Tale Requiem just hit consoles and was added to Game Pass yesterday, and that too is locked at 30 FPS. You can go all the way up to 40 FPS, I know, 10 more frames, if you have a monitor or a TV that has 120 refresh rate. A lot of people are out here saying like, this is whack. Yes, I would prefer these games to have a 60 FPS mode or performance mode, but for a game like a Plague Tale Requiem, I don't think it's as necessary. If you played the first one, the action of it is very slow, it's very methodical. It's not like a first-person shooter where every frame matters. On a game like Gotham Knights, an action combat game, you should definitely have a 60 FPS mode, a performance mode for that game, for sure. But I understand the frustration from these announcements. We start seeing these next-gen only titles, PS5, Xbox Series titles only, and they're coming out and they're saying, oh, we can only have 30 FPS. Sorry, I am not a game developer, so I don't know what goes into optimizing games for consoles. All I know is that PC players are just laughing at us. They're having a field day because they don't have to worry about this stuff, obviously. Hopefully Gotham Knights, Plague Tale Requiem, they come out with a patch a couple of months down the line and they're like, just kidding, we do have a performance mode. That's what I'm hoping for. Next up, Microsoft might be in a little bit of trouble following news that they're laying off upwards of 1,000 employees. This includes layoffs across a number of divisions, including Xbox. According to Tom Warren, Microsoft has started layoffs today. I'm hearing some in experiences and devices, Xbox, legal, strategic tech positions, and elsewhere are impacted. The layoffs impact less than 1,000 employees, so it's not 1,000, less than 1,000, that's important to note, but some veterans and truly talented teams are impacted. Now, before I continue with this story, I just want to say to everyone impacted by this situation, my heart goes out to you. It's never easy to hear that news, and especially a lot of people unfortunately hear this news not from their HR department or from their company. They find out through Twitter, and that's never a good situation to be in. I honestly don't know if this indicates anything going on at Microsoft. From my understanding, it was all going well, you know, Game Pass, they just came out with the revenue numbers and it seems to be going pretty well. The Xbox Series consoles are the best-selling consoles to this point in Xbox history, but I understand that this is not just an Xbox issue, it is a Microsoft issue. They're kind of being vague about it, but Tom Warren provides this quote: "Like all companies, we evaluate our business priorities on a regular basis and make structural adjustments accordingly. We will continue to invest in our business and hire in key growth areas in the year ahead." So again, we don't really know what has led to this situation, but it's clear that change is happening at Xbox and by extension some of its studios. Next up, let's talk about a new way to play Xbox. I am referring to the Razer Edge, which is a new handheld very similar to the Logitech G Cloud that we discussed previously on this channel. Now, I believe this to be the mystery device that Jess Corden, who works at Windows Central, was tweeting about. He put out this tweet that said, "Do not pre-order the Logitech G Cloud gaming device. Something better is coming." And I was like, what is he referencing? Is he talking about a handheld? Is he talking about something related to Project Keystone? And it seems that he was referencing this handheld being put out by Razer. Just for a brief item description, the Razer Edge is a portable Android gaming console primarily designed for streaming games from the cloud via Xbox Cloud Gaming or NVIDIA GeForce Now. In addition, the Razer Edge supports up to 144 frames per second via the Steam Link application when streaming PC games over a local network. It apparently has a removable tablet, it. It also has a headphone jack. It does have a pretty impressive refresh rate. Apparently the display supports over 144 refresh rate, which is like, that's pretty nice, right? That's pretty decent. It also has a pretty impressive chip too. The device also received a Qualcomm G3X Gen 1 processor, 8GB of LPDDR5 RAM, and 128GB of data storage. My question is, these cloud-only handheld devices, how long are they gonna stick around, honestly? Because while yes, it has some pretty decent features, has a pretty decent processor, has a pretty decent display, the pricing of these seem a little bit expensive for most people. That Logitech one is $350 right now on pre-orders. It's gonna bump up to $400 at launch, and this Razer Edge is $400 as well. So me personally, I really question, like, is this worth it? It is the price of a PS5 digital edition. It is more than an Xbox Series S. It is $100 less than an Xbox Series X. I think the Razer Edge does have some native capabilities when it comes to Android games, but primarily, it says so right in the brief, these are used for streaming games. And when you compare that to other mobile gaming options on the market right now, it just doesn't seem that impressive. Of course, you have the Nintendo Switch, which is a whole different beast of its own. They got the portable gaming on lock, Nintendo, and I feel like there's no denying that. Looking at their history, looking at the Game Boy, looking at the 3DS, looking at the Switch, they've cracked that formula pretty well. I have personally never tried cloud gaming on the Switch. I don't know if you can do that. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. And then of course you also have the Steam Deck available right now, which can stream games and play Steam games natively. And what's the price of that? $400. Starting out at the gate. It's sure, you're not getting as much memory. If you want to have like the maximum one, that's like what, upwards of almost $700. But I mean, like, come on, man. If you had the choice to buy this Razer Edge and also the Steam Deck, they're the same price, they were right in front of you, you had the opportunity to buy one or the other, would you really pick the Edge over the Steam Deck? I guess the positive way of looking at this thing is like, okay, I pay $400 for this device, and if I have a membership to GeForce Now, I'm essentially paying $400 to play on a rig that has a 3080. That's like, you know, nothing to sneeze at. And if you play through Xbox Cloud Gaming, it's like, okay, I paid $400 to play on an Xbox Series X, because that's what they run their cloud games on in the servers. I mean, I don't see a use for this device in my gaming life. That may be different for you, so do not let my words discourage you from trying this thing out, buying it. Hopefully sometime in the future, Microsoft will just make a Windows version of the Steam Deck. Instead of running SteamOS, it runs Windows. You can run Game Pass on it, download Game Pass games on the handheld device. You can stream them if you want to. I feel like a lot more people will be interested in that versus a cloud-only streaming device. Next up, we got to talk about some interesting news regarding the mid-gen console refresh. Now, people who have been gaming for a while on consoles, we know at this point that sometime in the console's life cycle, they come out with the slightly better version of that launch console. Last year, it was the PS4 Pro, the Xbox One S, the Xbox One X. Very confusing naming conventions from Xbox. Hopefully they come up with a better, less confusing name for whatever mid-gen refresh that they come out for this time. So these dev kits were revealed by this Rockstar leaker insider guy. He says most AAA studios should have received the dev kits of mid-life upgrades, or should receive them by the start of the new year. Games Radar offers a cautionary warning. They say, as pointed out in the comments of this Reddit post, dev kits for the new generation or mid-gen upgrade are usually done a year or two in advance, so there's probably still a little while before it's time to upgrade. But it is kind of matching up with the timeline I have in my head. Okay, they're getting these dev kits right now. Maybe they'll make an announcement at the end of next year, 2023, oh, the Series X Plus, the Series X Pro, and then they'll be putting those things out 2024 for sale holiday season. So if you're sitting there watching this and you're like, oh my God, they're gonna come out with a new Xbox and I haven't even bought the Series X or the Series S, man, I can't keep up. Price-wise, I'm thinking whenever this thing comes out, depending on what they decide to pack in, the upgrades, I feel like it can easily go to like $600 to $629, something like that. So the question becomes, okay, do I spend $300 on the Series S or $500 on the Series X? Or do I just save the money and just go balls to the wall whenever this comes out and throw down for this new Xbox? That, my dear viewer, is up to you. Change change is in the air for Xbox. We're kind of approaching the weird wackiness of the beginning of this generation. We're gonna have a slew of new games coming out for Xbox in 2023. There's a console, a new Xbox on the horizon. Something's happening. Is it gonna be good? Is it gonna be bad? Who knows? I'm not sure, but if you wanna stay up to date on all of it, make sure you subscribe to Xbox Ready.